And tonight, I do apologize. I just have to. Oh, so the recording is on. Right, great. On behalf of our school, together with Dennis Kirichenko, we want to welcome you. And we're going to be talking about the Eastern philosophy, mediation, and critical things that we need for negotiating. Well, today we're going to have the presentation in English, so please fine-tune your Ukrainian interpretation because you're going to be hearing that. It's been 4 months now almost since the outbreak of the war in Ukraine. There are a lot of challenges we are facing on a daily basis, and all that is actually making the conflict in the population even more acute. So on behalf of all the Ukrainian professionals, we want to thank Noam for agreeing to hold a series of webinars for us. They will help us get to know the different techniques and tools to de-escalate conflicts. Also, let's thank to all the international mediators for your continuous support and donations for our volunteering. And a special thanks goes to my colleague Verly from Belgium, who from day one has been supporting our work. And even when we were so desperate, you still were supporting us a lot. Thank you so much. I can see a lot of colleagues that we know from different countries who've been supporting us a lot. So we're so happy to see everybody here. Just a couple of logistical things before we start. All our meetings will be 90 minutes each. Today's on the 3rd and the 7th of June. We're going to be starting once again at 8 o'clock Kiev time till 9:30 in PM. So now first we're going to listen to the presentation, and then it's going to be the series of questions and answers. You can keep writing your questions on the chat. So whenever the time comes, we'll be happy to answer some of your questions. We might be unable to answer all of them, given such a large participation, but we're going to try to do our best to do that. Every one of you received a letter with Noam's presentation for the Ukrainian colleagues. It was translated into Ukrainian. So shall we start then? Noam, the floor is yours.
Hi there. Evening, everybody.
Вітаю всіх. Дякую за те, що зорганізували цей захід, пані Тетяно, пане Денисе. Щиро дякую вам за цю можливість перед вами сьогодні виступити.
Let's get down to business. I'll just start with a couple of words about myself. I spent most of my life in the Israeli security system. I started as a special operations officer, and then I was an undercover agent for several years. And then I took my almost decade of security work and started working as an instructor in the various security agencies in Israel, where I taught security officers how to face hostility, how to de-escalate interpersonal situations, and also served as a frontline speaker for the IDF crisis resolution team, which is basically a hostage negotiation team. And the last thing I did in this field that's worth mentioning, I also gave an academic course in one of Israeli universities about negotiations, specifically in the Arab world, but incorporating some of the techniques that we will talk about today. So basically, we're supposed to have 3 meetings. If this meeting will be too boring or completely irrelevant, just don't come to the other 2. If you do think that you can use this method, start thinking where in your personal lives or professional lives you can implement this method and bring examples to the next second meeting, to the next 2 meetings, okay? Because I was given several examples of what you guys are going through these days, but there are definitely more, and there are probably nuances we can address and talk about. So let's start. Let's find that presentation, and I count on you guys that if there is any problem in understanding or any sort of other problem, please address Tanya or Verle, and they will filter those comments and give me what I can deal with during this meeting. So let's share. Um, Everybody can see the presentation? Yes? Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So what we will be talking about is Taoist negotiation. Taoism is a part of Chinese philosophy. There are hundreds of schools, of course, but Taoism is one of the central ones. And I've come to acquainted with this school of thought during my learning of Chinese medicine. Now, there are two ways to look at this method. One of them is the philosophical Chinese way, which is, I think, very deep and gives you very deep understanding of what conflict is. But then again, not all people can relate to that. So there's also the technical aspect. There are three very simple steps that you need to take, and whether you call them 1, 2, 3 or Dao, Yin, Yang, and Qi, doesn't matter. So if the philosophical babble is not your cup of tea, that's 100% okay. You can still use this method and find a lot of you know, and find it helpful. Now, I'm probably not going to tell you anything new today because, again, this is a very simple and straightforward method for dealing with conflict. But the main idea about it is the simplicity. I come from a world of conflict resolution and negotiation, and I've met people who can negotiate a tiger into believing he's vegetarian, like absolutely amazing people with amazing skills. The thing is that when they try to teach these skills, you drown in terminology even before you start. You use this sort of messaging technique when you use this type of adversary in this situation, and when you have this cultural bias, and after like 3 clauses, you get lost. So the whole idea about this thing is the simplicity. And why simple? We'll relate to that in a couple of slides. So just for you guys that are in a hurry, we'll say exactly what this whole lecture is about in less than 5 minutes, and then you can go home. Okay? So you have the Tai Chi symbol here, like the black and white disc. Okay? So it consists of 3 elements. One of them is the whole. Okay? The facts, the playing field. When you approach a conflict, the first thing you want to do is to relate the facts to the other party so you can agree on what sort of conflict you're dealing with. Okay, like your foot is on my foot. That's the conflict we have right now. Okay, then there is the second stage of yin and yang, which are the black and the white. It means that you have a point of view and the other one has a point of view. And this is why you have a conflict, because they are not the same. They actually may be opposing. So you relate the other point of view, and then you relate your own point of view. Method completed. That's all you need to do. So we still have 78 minutes, I think. So any questions? No. Okay. So it will look like this. Look, your foot is on my foot. Facts. Then the other point of view. I understand that you need a place to put your foot. That's natural. Everybody needs such a place. Then my own point of view. But your foot being on mine hurts. Okay. And then apparently there's supposed to be the stage where I say, okay, so get your foot off mine. But this is already evident from the points, from the opposite points of view. So unless the other guy is completely stupid, he will understand that this is what I want. Whether he will do it or not, that's another question. Okay, so this was it in a nutshell. And now we'll go into the nuances. First of all, let's talk about why we need. I guess that a lot of you guys are professionals in one field or another. Some of you may be psychologists, some of you may be mediators, negotiators, business people. I don't know all of you. You probably have a lot of mileage in whatever it is that you're doing. So why do you need a simple, primitive method to learn? There are 2 things to be said about that. One thing is that the soft professions, the ones we are a part of, are very susceptible to an ego problem. Let's say I've been a psychologist for 10 years. I haven't. My wife has been. Let's say you are a psychologist, you are a mediator, and you succeed most of the time in what you do. Okay. So you keep on doing the same thing that works for you. So it is pretty obvious that at a certain point, when you will meet a case that you are not familiar with, you will not be that good. But this is a soft profession. This is not engineering, right? This is not a bridge that I build and the next day it falls down. No, it's just a patient that I didn't help. So I can tell myself, look, he wasn't ready to be healed. He was resisting the mediation. He was resisting the therapy or something like that. So in the soft professions, we always have someone to blame for our faults. And so we can start believing that we are 100% okay. And the problem is with the problem, not with us. And this is where learning and relearning and every once in a while looking at things from a different angle is very important. The same goes for the times where we fail in what we do. So maybe we leave this occupation, or maybe we start blaming our environment or our patients or the people we mediate between of being not smart enough to understand what we're giving them. But it is the same problem. Now, there is, of course, the specific situation you guys are in, most of you, the Ukrainian friends we have here this evening. It doesn't matter even what you do these days. The moment you're in a war zone, things go crazy. Whatever it is that will happen, it will not be like everyday occasions. Tanya, I read a little bit from your blog and I see the news and everything. The things you guys have to deal with these days are not regular things. Nobody has prepared you for this. And when you're under stress and when you have a lot to deal with personally and professionally, providing simple, straightforward tools is a good idea. I'll give you an example what I mean about stress. Okay, you guys might come literally under fire, but let's talk about something even simpler. When we were training in the IDF crisis solution team, the team leader wanted everyone to start negotiating with a simple sentence. He said, don't mention army, don't mention problem. The terrorist on the other side of the line is very agitated. He doesn't want to think that he's faced by the army, and he doesn't want anybody telling him he has a problem. And you would see people with like 10 years of experience taking the megaphone and going, my name is David, I'm with the army, and I'm here to help you solve your problem. After they've been taught 100 times not to do that. Why? Because the moment you come under stress, you go back to your habits. So keeping it simple, especially when you're under stress, is very important. Up until now, I hope you're all with me. So what is simple about this method? Okay, I will try to demonstrate this this simplicity by talking about Belgian food, which is beer. And I wanted to do that with Ukrainian food, but then I opened the internet and the first example I got was borscht. And I don't like my food purple. I'm sorry about that, but it scares me. So I stuck with beer. I hope that's okay. So there are two ways of approaching any matter. One of them is inductive, and one of them is deductive. Okay, induction is seeing many instances of whatever it is that you want to approach and slowly understanding what this thing is. Problem is that you need to see a lot of the same thing. Okay, if I see wine and water and beer, I can't learn anything. If I see the same beer one time and a second time and a third time and a fourth time, by the time I get to my 10th lef, or whatever, I understand what it tastes like. And I'm very good at drinking lef. And whenever you put that in front of me, I know what it is. The thing is that I don't know any other beer. So deduction will be the other way around. I am given a certain set of rules, very simple. very general, and I can apply them to anything. The axiom I've been given by the wise people is beer is good. And so it doesn't matter. Left is good, Duvel is good, Triple is good, everything is good. Everything that is named beer. Okay. So I'm not a beer connoisseur. I don't understand a lot about beer, but I can understand that it's pretty okay from the first sip. Another example of this will be using Google Translate and actually learning a language. When I use Google Translate, I can understand most languages on the face of the planet within 5 minutes. Understanding will be so-so, but I can do it immediately. Then I can go and learn a certain language. I will be an expert in that language, but will take maybe a year before I'm actually able to have a conversation. And what we're doing is deduction. We will use a very simple set of rules like the Chinese people did. And from that, you will derive a universal tool that you can use in any sort of conflict, armed, unarmed, within the family, outside the family, day, night, Ukraine, or Siberia. Okay. Again, it will take time until you become, achieve a certain level of expertise, but you can use it right now. Okay. So this is the sort of thing we will introduce today. Tanya, Verle, any questions up until now? Somebody, no, good, okay. So the first step, as we said, is the whole, okay? If we're looking at it a bit graphically, any movement needs a stable anchor, right? When a runner goes onto the track, he has those running blocks he pushes against, right? When I want to jump up, I need a stable ground to push against so I will be able to go high. And this is what the Chinese people said about the world. The world, the universe, or anything needs to exist before you can look at it, okay? And so they invented the concept of the Tao. The Tao is everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Whatever was, whatever will be, whatever is right now, whatever we understand and see, and whatever we don't see and don't understand. Everything. Naturally, this weird Tao is completely outside the realm of our cognitive ability. We can't understand it. We can't see it. But that means it is also beyond judgment. Why? Because I can't go outside of the Tao, look at it and say, this is a good Tao. This is a bad Tao. This is an ugly Tao. I can't do that. Okay. So when I want to start at a, let's call it a pure point of view, I need to think Tao. I need to think bigger. Okay. When I say to someone, you stepped on my foot, okay, I look exactly at the conflict, at the point of conflict, and that thing that we are fighting about is the thing I describe as a fact. But it's not a fact. That's the whole thing. Maybe the other person put his foot there just because, he didn't see my foot. Maybe I put my foot under his foot to begin with. I don't know. So I need to go bigger, not to look into that specific point in the conflict that I'm trying to de-escalate, but to start from the background that is neutral. Okay, so two ways to go about them is to relate a, let's say, a personal point of view. Okay, one that the other person cannot dispute because it's not his opinion. That's a bit of a cheating, right? Because the other guy know that my point of view is not his. And when I say, I feel that you're being stupid, I'm actually saying you're stupid. Okay. He just can't say, no, you don't feel that. But so personal point of view is a good way to go about it. But the best way is to look at the world. Okay. To be at a point where me and the other person are looking at something that is bigger than us. And then there can be no dispute. So I can say you stepped on my foot. And I can say my foot was stepped upon, which is my personal point of view. But I can go even bigger and say a stepped on foot is no fun. Now, the further I got away from that point of collision between me and the other, the easier it would be for the other person to agree. Okay, so let's say somebody has taken money from me and he needs to return it and he doesn't. And so I go and tell him, look, it's not okay that you don't return the money. First of all, it's not okay is not a fact, right? I think it's not okay. And then I said, he didn't return the money. Maybe he tried. Maybe I wasn't home. Maybe he called me and I did not answer. I don't know. So we go bigger. Look, when somebody takes money, they need to give it back. Okay. So the first rule we are trying to take here is don't focus on the point of conflict when you want to start to relate to it. Go bigger. Look at the background, at the neutral background. Okay. And the more general you make it, the less concrete you make it, the easier it will be to go on. Okay. This is the philosophical point of view that says, okay, if I want to go, if I want to be neutral, if I want to be not judging, then I need to relate to the Tao that is big and contextless and has no perspective. Fantastic. Let's be more technical. Okay. If we want to be more technical, when people clash, when people have a conflict, they know the other thinks different from them. When the other opens his mouth, when he goes, his adversary knows that he's going to say something he doesn't like, and he's expecting that. And whenever you start a sentence with you, he is primed for conflict. Oh, me? I'll show you. No, it's not me. It's you. But then he hears something that is completely neutral. The sun is shining. Okay, I can't resent that, but I'm not seeing where this is going. Good. Okay, so we have him listening for a second, and now he is accustomed to the fact that we are talking and he is not angry. That's a good way to start. Okay, because most times we want to address the conflict right now. You want this, I want the other thing. No, let's start with what is possible to listen to. So what we need at first is facts. These facts need to be neutral and hearable. Now, here there's an excellent example of what happens when you don't start with the fact, just with a point of view. Okay, look how it goes. Wait, can you see this? See the video? Right. Monty Python, if everybody
No, we don't
knows.
see the video. We don't see the video. I'm sorry.
Now, let's get one thing quite clear.
We have to restart it because it's still the frozen picture of the slide and there is only the sound coming from the video. Can we restart it again?
No, it isn't.
Hmm? Yeah. See,
No, we couldn't see the video, unfortunately.
yeah, they're saying no. There is no context. There is no background. They don't have a starting point. All they can do is bash their heads.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
It is. You just contradicted me.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did.
No.
You did just then.
No nonsense.
Oh, look, this.
If any of you is masochistic enough to spend time on Twitter in these sad days, this is exactly what it looks like. You're a fascist. No, you're a fascist. No, you're a fascist. No, you're a fascist. This is how it works these days. As long as we don't have an agreed point of a beginning, there is no point. Okay, so if we don't start with the facts, there is no point going on. And even, by the way, if we manage to bully the first step, eventually the other side will be reminded of the fact that we don't agree on the matter of dispute. And at some point, it will surface. Okay, so even if you have very good persuasive skills and you're very aggressive in an argument or in a conflict, you can't escape the need to pinpoint a fact that you do agree upon.
Олег, скажіть, будь ласка, Науму, щоб
Okay.
Naom,
Noam, can you
Would-
hear the interpretation?
could you please show your screen on the full?
Yeah.
Can you make it full screen?
See this? Crap. Just a sec.
No, Naom, do you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I'm
Can you
fixing
hear
it.
the interpretation?
Please. Oh, yeah.
Can you hear the interpretation? Noam? Hello?
Yeah, yeah.
No, he cannot. No, he cannot hear me.
Thank you.
That's fine.
So let's look at facts. Babbling about philosophy is nice, but let's look at examples. By the way, free facts that mostly will be agreed upon by everybody. First of all, human nature. Okay, when you relate to human nature, most people have the same opinions. If you say, look, Yemenites can be stubborn, most people will agree. Then again, there's the subjective feelings. We said usually you can't argue with subjective feelings, but again, that's a little bit of cheating. Higher forces, God, weather, the man, okay? Specifically, if we're talking about the current situation, war is a very good thing to start with. Sorry to say that, but if you say, look, we're at war right now, everything is crazy. Nothing is the way we used to have it. Not a lot of people can argue with that. Then there is quoting reality, okay? And that's a very powerful weapon to state facts, like your foot is on my foot, but it is very limited. Why? Because if we want to actually quote reality, to say exactly what happened in a way that the other will not be able to resent, it means that this has to be a very small window that we are describing, okay? Because let's say if we're in a hostage negotiation and the hostage has been executed by the terrorist, I can tell him, you just executed an innocent person. That's not reality for him. He doesn't believe that person is innocent, and he doesn't believe he executed him. He just believes that he delivered on a promise he made to me. So quoting reality should relate to something very technical, very small. So one example that I was giving was that a couple is separated, and you or a good friend or whoever is trying to mediate and make them at least communicate and try to go back to each other. It happens. So let's say I was hired, or I was asked by X, who is maybe the husband or the wife, or the husband of the husband or the wife of the wife. I'm not assuming anything. I live in the United States. I can't. And you need to approach the other person and tell them that, okay, that we have a problematic situation, want to resolve it. So a very innocent way of addressing that will be to say, you left and that really hurt X. Okay, but look, this is not neutral facts. This is not a general thing to say, because the other may say, I didn't leave, I was kicked out. Although, well, this is not the way the other perceives it, but that's the way that he does. And I didn't hurt X. He or she is completely crazy, and this is why they're hurting. I did my best to avoid hurting them. Okay, so you started in something that supposedly was very neutral, but you actually managed to escalate the situation further. So if we are looking at this statement, you left and that really hurt X, how can we make it more general, less directional? Okay, less of a me and you situation and something more general. So if somebody left, there is this static situation of one being here and the other being here, right? This is something that is static, that we can look at, and it has no implications about who did what. So person leaving can be translated into the static facts of X being here and Y being here. And then there is the matter of hurting. We could translate that into the subjective feeling of X being hurt. We don't say that you hurt X, but there is hurt. It is subjective. You can't say that he or she is not hurting. You can, but that will make you very argumentative, and people, it's just a matter of how common this is. When you accuse somebody of doing something, he can say no. But when you're saying somebody else is feeling something, they can still say no, but it is not that common. Okay. So what we did is made the first fact directionless, the fact that he or she left, and then we made the other fact subjective. The other is feeling hurt, regardless of who hurt them and how. Okay, that makes this argument the other person's problem. Okay, X is hurting. Good for them. So we can make it even more general. You're here, X is there, and people hurt in such situations. Remember the Tao? The bigger, the more general we make it, the easier it is to look at it objectively. Now, you might be saying, whoa, this is going a very long way from what we started with. I wanted to tell the other guy that he left and he hurt and. Yeah, that's great. You will save a lot of time, and actually you will save all the time, because at this point, there will be no mediation. The other person will just tell you go to hell. Of course not. Of course, people are not that sensitive. But if you really want to succeed, yes, you take your time and you start from a back position and you slowly approach the sensitive matter. Okay. Going right into it may seem very effective, but most chances it will escalate and will end up badly. So yes, we start very general and we negotiate for each step forward. So you're here, X is there, people hurt in such situations, and the other guy may be nodding his head at this point. Yeah, okay, sure. And then I can start moving toward what I want to achieve. That will not be, okay, go back home, make them happy. No, but that will be the first step. Right. So the other person can be super argumentative and say, no, people don't hurt when they're alone. But that will mean that he's, well, 80% crazy. This is usually not a statement that you hear from another person. And if they do, then you got a problem, because you have a very, very hostile adversary. Up until now, this example was sort of clear. Yes. I have Dennis and Tatiana here nodding their heads, and I'll take that as a yes. I'm good here. Okay. Another example talking about facts is introducing yourself. There's always the moments, it doesn't matter whether it's hostage negotiation or family therapy or whatever, when you need to say who you are and what you are here to do. What is your role, right? So remember, don't say army, don't say problem. Sort of applies here, because the moment you say you come with a certain directional goal, you're not neutral anymore. So you were hired or you were asked by X to do something. That cannot be avoided. Yes, you are coming on behalf of X. Not saying that would be lying, and we don't want to do that. But other than that, there is a lot of maneuvering. So I was asked by X to address the problem you guys have. Oh, so there's a problem now. The other guy can all of a sudden say, oh, right, so we have a problem, and I wasn't told about it. We don't have a problem. They have a problem. Why? Because they are drinking. So we don't have a problem, and saying that we have a problem is actually accusing me of something I never did. Again, you were just trying to help. So zoom out. What can be what can be less directional, what can be more general and less me and you situation. Again, going subjective is half the way. Going subjective is not bad. This is something that we naturally know how to do. And if you don't feel like you have in your head another solution, this is good enough. It's not the best, but it's good. X feel there's a problem. I didn't say you feel that way. I didn't say it's a general truth, but she or he do. And they asked me to address it better. Now, of course, she or he feel there's a problem because they created it. That's only natural. We'll have to reiterate and go again and again until we get rid of this feeling. Now, when you really go general, it almost looks caveman-like, almost primitive. Hello, my name is Zed. I'm a mediator. X hired me or asked me, and I would like to talk to you. No problem, no nothing. The bare bones. Okay. Again, it goes to maybe sometimes it can look really, forgive my language, autistic. Like I'm talking to a person as if he doesn't know anything about the world. Okay, that may sound a little primitive, but it works. I don't say good morning. Good is directional. I say, look, it is the early hours of the day. Some people call it morning, and some people may think it's good. I'm not sure about that. Let's talk. Again, nothing is magic. Even if you state the most bare-boned facts, the most simple and self-evident truth, the other can still be argumentative and say, go to hell. I don't want to talk to you. But it happens. It happens. We're not magicians. Okay. But this is the role of facts. Now, the second step, and I apologize in advance for this big disc of yin and yang in your faces. The second step is the point of view. And that's actually the last step. All the other things that you're supposed not to do. Okay. You have laid the, how do you call, chess, you call it in Russian or Ukrainian, shahmati? Yes?
That's right. Shahmati.
Excellent. So you can't play shahmati before you put all the pieces on the board. And this is what we did before. Place the pieces on the board. It doesn't say who's going to win. It doesn't say who's a better player. It doesn't say who starts. Actually, it does. The white starts. Oh, well, whatever. Bad example. But that is what we did. And now we can start playing. Okay. So if we're talking philosophically, we said that we start with the whole. We start with the general thing, with the Tao, with the thing that cannot be disputed. But everything that is big and general is automatically divided into the moment we look at it. We talk about the Tao. The Tao is everything. Whenever the human mind touches the Tao, there are immediately two parts. One of them that is near and familiar and understandable, like this table, this computer, the sky, the weather, and the things that we can't even imagine that exist. Okay? And this is the way the Chinese people interpreted it. The closer, the more tangible, the more mundane it is yin. Maybe the black, maybe the white, it doesn't matter. And the moment it is far, not far amorphic and hard to understand, it is yang. Okay, so let's say we have water, cold water. I can put my finger in and feel them, so there will be a bit more yin. Hot water is steam, right? And when I put my finger through the steam, it's not as tangible as cold water. So steam is more yang than cold water. And by comparison, hot is more yang than yin. That's it. Now, these two perspectives are not opposing, they're complementary, and they cannot exist one without the other. They actually flow one into the other. So let's say there are things in the world that I don't understand. They are young. Excellent. Then I study and I understand them. So they turn into yin. One flows into the other and vice versa. That thing saying that these perspectives are not opposing is very nice in theory, but we don't like meeting it in our personal lives. Why? Because we know what we like and we don't like, and the things that we like, we want, and the things we don't like, we don't want. So let's say you see those two people here in the slide saying, one of them is yelling, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. That's great, right? That's very liberal. That's excellent. So why does she have to say it? Because to a certain extent, it is not true. If injustice somewhere was indeed injustice everywhere, they would be the same. They would have the same name, but they don't. Okay. So this is why you have to assert that they are the same, which means that to a certain extent, you are wrong. And this is something that, at least philosophically, we have to accept. The other is never completely wrong, and we are never completely right. 99%, 99.9%, never 100%. Otherwise, there would be no dispute. So let's say it's not even about just only bad things. When I tell my wife that I love her, I actually tell her to a certain extent that I don't love her. Fact. Why? Because at this moment, I felt so in love with her that I told her, oh, but what about the other 23 hours in the day in which I didn't tell her? So did I love her less at that point? Probably. So again, nothing is 100% true. So philosophically speaking, if we want to give an harmonious message that will be hearable and correct, we need to address both sides. This is the hardest task, okay? Because when we're in a conflict, as mediators, is maybe a little bit easier, but most times we actually identify with one of the sides, and when you negotiate with a terrorist, you don't like that terrorist, right? You don't want to say, oh, look, you're very right, kidnapping people and threatening to execute them. You hate doing that, but he's right. Why? Because he thinks he is. And as long as there's one person thinking that this is right, then to a certain extent, it's right. So this is the philosophical point of view. If we want to be a bit more technical, we can say that in a conflict, there may be two kinds of hurt. One is not getting what you want, which is obvious. The other is not being seen or heard or acknowledged by the other side. And sometimes, I would actually hazard a guess that most times, this is a bigger issue than not getting what you want. Okay. Most people relate to examples from the parenting world in that sense. Let's say a child wants a cookie, and dad, in this case me, says, no, no cookie for you. And the child knows he's not getting a cookie, but he also knows that apart from feeling small and vulnerable and dependable on his parents don't see him. They don't listen to him. They don't know what he wants. They just want to hurt them. And this will really make him angry. So as every child therapist will tell you, and I think that for a good reason, you need to advocate the other side. I want a cookie. Look, cookies taste great. Ask me. I love cookies. Okay. If it was up to me, I would be right behind you and eating cookies all day and all night. Right at this point, the child understands that he's not an idiot, that wanting a cookie is legitimate and even good. And that feels nice. And then dad tells him, but right now we can't have a cookie. I'm so sorry for that. So he's not getting the cookie. We didn't back down or do something we disagree with, but we acknowledged the other. Now, when you're a parent facing a child, okay, you take a deep breath and you understand this is what you need to do. But when you're in a real fight, oh, you don't look. I'm supposedly I invented this stuff. This is what I do all day and all night. And when I sit in the bank and the secretary there treats me like dirt, all I want to do is, you understand all what I want to do, right? I don't need to say it out loud. Okay. So acknowledging the other side is just about the best thing you can do in conflict. Technically, it shows that you understand what is happening here. Nobody can say, oh, but this guy is an idiot. He doesn't even understand what we're fighting about. He doesn't understand where we're coming from. Oh, no, he does. He just show you that he does. Second of all, as we said, the moment the other feels acknowledged and understood, they're at ease. They like you. They cannot but. And this is very important. Sometimes we actually wade into conflict without knowing what the other guy is about. Sometimes we tell ourselves, look, they're only fighting us because they're idiots, right? Here in Israel, that's very common. Palestinians fight Israelis. Why? Because they are bad, stupid people. Look, maybe they're bad, maybe they're stupid. I don't know. They can't be 100% stupid. They have to have some reason, and we need to think what it is. Okay, so thinking about the other, trying to see the conflict through the other's eyes, and voicing the other's opinion is very, very important. So we set the chess pieces, the shahmati pieces on the board. The first step we take is not with our pieces, with the other's pieces. Okay, so let's look at an example. I was given an example of a mother who moved to Poland or maybe another country because of the war. And she's facing, of course, a lot of stress and problems. And her daughter is, I can't remember the specifics, but she's in trouble. She doesn't study well. She is, the mother is very occupied with her little brother, and she's acting up. Okay. And there are resources available, like therapy, like, I don't know, big brothers from the community or whatever, but the girl refuses to use these resources. Okay, I got that right? Yeah, that was sort of the example I was given. So the mother naturally will want to go and present her point of view. When you don't accept help, you burden the whole family. That is very true, right? We're one familial unit. You do bad things, we all suffer. You should go to therapy. Bam. What can be better than this? A lot of things can be better than this because, let's face it, unless that girl is completely psychotic, she's not actively trying to hurt her family. I don't know. Maybe there are people who are antisocial, have no empathy whatsoever, but I think this is a 1 in a million thing. Most people hurt or do bad things because they have a point. Maybe they're overstating it. Maybe they should not take the liberty of hurting others for their point, but they do have a point. And saying they don't is not going to solve the problem, just going to make it worse. So what's her point? Let's be honest about this. She is a teenager who's been snapped out of her life and is now living in a strange country surrounded by strange people when she was brought to this world by a mother who was supposed to take care of her. But she didn't. Now, the mother, who was actually trying to fight the whole world off, okay, again, trying to make ends meet, the last thing she want to do is to feel guilty. Maybe she's even, putting it aside because she can't handle it right now. But that's not going to help. So, first of all, let's go big. Let's not talk about you and me. Let's look at what we can agree about. We're in a very tough situation now, and I'm having a real hard time. Again, not you're giving me a hard time. I am having a real hard time. We said subjective can work. It's not the best solution, but it can work. Now for the girl's part. I know it's not fair. I'm your mom. I'm the one who has to deal with this, not you. Okay? Shh. Now, this is, again, very hard to do. Now, when we read this, this is simple, but looking at somebody you're angry with and saying, look, you're right. I'm at fault. Your point of view is correct to a certain extent, and mean it. If you don't mean it, then it's not worth anything. A lot of people go through this phase saying, oh, you probably might think that it is my fault. No, this is not going to work because the other knows that you disagree with them. No, you need to say it and mean it. And if you don't, take 5 minutes and work on yourself until you mean it, until you see things the way they do. Okay? So she said that, and then, only then, she can play her part. And her part needs to be as minimal as possible. She can go on for hours about parental responsibility, about the way she didn't live up to her daughter's expectations. This will all be heard on the other side and very much appreciated. And once you've given them, the other side, all of this, it might be a whole lot easier to assert your point. Again, if we want to really be technical about this, you want your kid to eat broccoli, you give them chocolate. The bigger the broccoli, the bigger the chocolate. It's business. Okay? So this is a way to approach this. Again, as we said, none of this is magic. The girl can erupt and say, you know what? And she does, because she's insane. She's a teenager. That's the whole point of being a teenager. But that's more or less it. Another example I was given was a custody conflict. A mother took her daughter to Poland, and the little kid stayed in the hospital to receive treatment. And then when she asked the father to send him to Poland, he refused, although he is in the fight, he is at war, but his mother is taking care of the kid and he does not want him to leave the country. Now, automatically we would want to say, oh, what a horrible person. He can't actually spend time with his kid, but he still wants him like a piece of property. Again, we are right now in the world of crazy. Judging and taking position at this moment, forget about the fact that we're going to be, maybe we'll be wrong. It's not going to help. Okay. If the father is insane enough to want to keep his boy in a war zone, appealing to his sanity is not going to work. Okay. We need to see it the way he does. Otherwise, it will not work. So we all want what's best for Alexei. That's the kid's name, I think. I checked out Ukrainian names on the internet. Is that the way you write it? Yes? Okay.
Yes, of course.
So, and I think right now, I can care for him best. This is the mother speaking, but again, the mediator says, we all want what's best for Alexei, and we think that right now, his mother can care for him best. Okay, so we all want what's best for Alexei is okay, but you can go wider, okay, because there's a conflict here. If we would all wanted what's best for Alexei, we would have agreed, right? I want what's best for him, not you. This is why we have an argument. So we can make the facts here a bit more general. And then, as you can see, there is only the yang or the yin part of the argument. Where is the other's point of view? So again, make the facts almost stupid simple. Alexei is our child, right? No ifs and buts about that. No two ways of seeing that. His well-being is the most important thing. Again, by taking out the we, the you, the me, we have made it more general and less disputable. It is the most important thing. You may argue later that it is not the most important thing for me, but in general, it is. So up until now, I didn't say anything the other can argue with. And that is the whole point of laying the facts. Now we can wax on for hours about how right the other is, not us. You're his father, you're his mother, whatever. The most important person in his life. And the most natural thing for him is to be with you. And you can go on and on. Like when we were when we were living in Kiev, you remember that I didn't want him to spend time at home with me. I wanted him to go fishing with you or play soccer with you because I know how important is that for his well-being and development, blah, 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 blah. You know what? You might be lying through your teeth. I hope you're not, but still, if you want to lie, this is the lie you need to tell, okay? Because the other will say, right, okay, so I'm not completely crazy. What I want is reasonable. And it actually stems from a good place. Oh, so the other doesn't hate me, doesn't think I'm stupid. Wow, that's a good thing, actually. And only then, but the world has gone crazy right now. Nothing is natural anymore. Now, see, the whole point of juxtaposing, of putting one point of view against the other, is to create a win for my point of view. Eventually, I want the father to admit that Alexei doesn't need to be in a war zone, or maybe not admit it, but just send him to Poland. Sure, whatever. But we'll talk about it in a second. It doesn't have to be a big win. It can be a very small win. So I don't need to say, look, but I think you're exaggerating with the importance that you're attributing to the fact that he will be with you even though you're in the war, blah, blah, blah. No, blame it on the war. It's okay. Just find the counterpoint. Just find the other point of view that says the other thing. And if it can be very small and not personal, better. So again, not immune. If the other guy is very focused and very sharp, he will understand that the but is coming. Okay. A lot of negotiators say don't use the word but because that negates all the things you said before. I'm not that sensitive to the but thing, but yes, you can say however, or you can say at the same time. And even then, if the other guy is smart enough, he will be on to you. But that's okay. You did nothing wrong. You didn't lie. You asserted what he believes in, and you did it in good faith. And he can't say that you're trying to manipulate him because you asked for what you want.
I thought you meant a different but.
All is good here. Even if you're caught maneuvering. There's a technical, okay, we'll leave the technicalities for a bit later. So this is the second example of yin and yang, or point of view and counterpoint of view. Up until now, the three people that I can see are with me. It's all sort of clear. Any questions up until now? Okay, excellent. Right. So I didn't want to inflict on you any of the Chinese writings because they are horribly horrible, 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 horrible. But this one is beautiful. It is. When bitter, it's taken from the Lao Tzu, the original book of Taoism, the one that laid the foundation of Taoist thinking. Half of it is just, if you want peace, try to make war. If you want rain, try to make sun. It sounds like that, sort of, but here it is very, very nice. When bitter enemies make peace, surely some bitterness remains. It is a fact. Even now, even if the conflict between Russia and the Ukraine is solved tomorrow, in an hour from now, bitter feelings will remain. Putin goes overboard and he says everybody that has been hurt in the war will receive 1 billion rubles, which is $10 or what, something like that. Everything you can imagine, everything you can dream about becomes better. What? People forget all the hostility. People forget their hate. People forget their hurt. No, they don't. And now they're even angrier because there is peace. You're not allowed to be angry anymore. And if you do, then you're a dissident. So every remedy brings a new disease. And the bigger the remedy, the bigger the disease is. So surely some bitterness remains. How can this be solved? Therefore, the sage, the smart person, honors his part of the settlement, but does not exact his due from the others. Let's say I am renting a house. Okay. The renter forgot to pay rent. And I have a check. I can go to the bank right now and cash that check. He owes me, and I will take it back. But then he will hate me. That is a certainty. Why? Because I didn't show any mercy. I can wait a day, a two, maybe three, even though it is written in the contract that I can take his money. Don't. Every time you win, you are just paving the way to the next war. This is the philosophy of the Tao. I believe it 100%. I do. Now, you don't have to believe that, but if we're talking a bit more technically, people don't like losing, right? When you lose, it means that the other is stronger than you, they're smarter than you. Maybe, God forbid, they were right and you were wrong. People have egos. They hate admitting that. I think we can agree on that. Okay, people are bad-tempered mules. They don't like losing. So, lose big means they become angrier. Lose small, maybe they can swallow it. It's like, again, giving a pill to a child. Cover it with chocolate. Make it the smallest you can. Okay, maybe they'll swallow it. So, as we said before, when we lay the point of views, their point of view and our point of view, we create a gap. That gap says that we are a little bit more right than the other party. If we look back at the mother and teenager and the one on the Lexi, the custody conflict, but the world has gone crazy right now. Nothing is natural anymore. It means that your point of view is perfectly right. It is just a tiny little bit out of sync with the way things are. If this was an everyday scenario, you would be 100% on the money. You will be great. There's just this little thing. So I'm not telling the other, look, you're stupid, I'm right, and you were wrong. I'm telling him, I am 51% right, and you are 49% right. Okay? And that is the whole difference. And again, this is something very, very hard to do, because when we wade into a conflict, the other pushes. So we push back, and they push, and we push. And the more they push, we naturally want to push harder till it comes to the point where the other says, good morning. And we tell him, hell no, it is the middle of the night. I don't care if the sun is shining. It's night now. And this is a very natural instinct that we need to fight. He says, good morning. We need to say, oh, of course, it's morning. It's just like, you know, it's 11 and 5 minutes. This is very late morning. One can, you know, maybe even say it's nearly noon. That's how it goes. Do not win big. Make your win as small as humanly possible. Otherwise, the chances of you making this deal work are becoming smaller and smaller. So, and the most important thing is that the gap between the points of view usually sends the message. Look at that yin and yang disc, right? We said there is the Tao, the whole playing field. We said there are the points of view, and there is the line between them. The place where the yin and the yang meet, that connection point, this is what the Chinese call qi, action, the impact on the world. And you don't need to create it. It is already there. When I tell the other person, look, this is war, this is crazy, nothing is the way it was up until now, I just said your approach is a little bit wrong. I can add to that. So buy Alexei a ticket and put him on the train to Warsaw. But why? I gave him a little nudge in my direction. I can make him think now. If I pursue my claim and try to make it tangible right now, I may lose all the things that I've gained up until now. So yeah, we make it very, very small and very almost insignificant. And then the father will probably say, okay, I understand, we're at war, so what the hell now? Okay, so you asked for it, now I'm giving it to you. I didn't attack you with saying, put him on a train and send him to me. You came to the point where you were asking yourself that question. That is way better. So, again, an example of that was given. A man is having, why are the men always the bad people in these stories? I want some stories with bad women. Okay, I'm just saying for the next meetings. They have a very interesting phrase in Judaism. In Judaism, the husband has to give his wife the divorce, and if he doesn't want to do that, the rabbinical court can't make the divorce happen. So people are spending a lifetime in jail, but they will not say that they divorced their wives. And these wives, if they're religious, will never marry again, which is 100% crazy. So a wife wants a divorce because her husband had another family behind her back, which is completely psycho. I hate this person already, and I don't even know him. It doesn't matter. He has a point of view, and that point of view is legitimate. Okay, so you have another family. That is, yeah, that is correct. Although it can be worked with, you can still make it a bit more general, and that's despicable. I totally agree. And now my demand is, I want a divorce. Now, remember we said that every argument needs a static point to push against. You need an anchor to create movement. The same way works with people getting angry. You can't get angry over nothing, but you can get angry over something. So if there is no direct demand, you can't resent. But when there is a demand, oh, of course you can't resent. And the whole point is becoming about the demand, not about the general idea. You want a divorce? I'll see you in hell. Why? Because that's it. So the moment you articulate that thing that you want, the moment you say, give me that, there is a good chance the other will just stand on their hind feet and say, no. Why? It's human nature. That's it. So we can work a little bit with the family thing, right? Because the other person may have started a second family because he thinks it's legitimate. That is a very permissive. I would say he started because he's an asshole, but let's try to see it through his eyes, okay? He wanted another family and he thought that's okay. So I go subjective. That's, I think, the best I can do at this moment. The wife is saying, I think of a family as my whole life. Just me, my husband, and my children. Call me crazy. This is my point of view. You can't argue with that. You see it different. Again, he might say, no, you're all my family and blah, blah, blah. But again, that will take a very, very crazy person. Oh, yeah, I see it different. I think that having two families is okay. Okay, up until now, we have the facts. So I legitimize it. It's your life. It's your decisions. You want to have a second family, you want to have more than one, that's completely legitimate, but just not for me. So your whole point of view, your whole psychotic view of the world is legitimate. You are right. I'm the crazy one. But on the matter of our specific marriage, I would like my crazy approach to take precedence. That's just me. I'm not saying I'm a bad person. You're a bad person. And again, the other person is now stuck with this feeling that something is wrong, but he has no object to resent. She just said, I'm different than you. You can't resent that. If she would have said, now give me a divorce, yeah, that's resentful. So at this point, there may be some awkward silence. And then one of them will say, so what now? Okay, you want to know what now? Again, maybe not a divorce. The word divorce may be too big. We start again. Look, two people have a common life together. They're dependent on one another. They have the same income, the same house, the same children. Now, we're describing a family, right? In very general terms. And it doesn't work anymore. They find out that they are very different. Up until now, we're with the facts. Now, I'm not saying that any difference has to result in dismantling a family. That's the counterpoint of view. But sometimes it just can't go on. That's the point of view. That was asking for a divorce without saying the word divorce, which I think is better. Right. Now the last thing, how are we doing on time? We're about an hour in, right? Yeah, something like that. Right. So we'll still have time for questions. Good. Now, again, there are a lot of you guys out there. I don't know where you're coming from and what your points of views about conflict and mediation are. I'm a very, very soft person. Now, you ask my kids or my wife about that, they may not agree, but most times I say lose, 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 lose. Only fight for the most essential things, and even that do in moderation. I hope I actually implement that in my life. But this method we are talking about, it relates to Chinese philosophy. And Chinese philosophy doesn't take a position on life, it just describes them. So the fact that we are using a very soft method delivered by a very soft thinking person doesn't mean that this has to be used only for soft content. Let's give an example like in Israeli security. Sometimes a security officer is sitting in an office with a Hamas terrorist that has just gone out of jail. Everybody in the room knows that this person is going to go back to being a terrorist, an armed terrorist who kills people. So I don't know if that's a good idea, but procedure says that the security officer needs to talk to that person and warns him that going that way will end badly for him. So he can go like this. He said, look, you're a terrorist. I'm a security officer. And if you step out of line, I'll kill you. Now, first of all, that's a very stupid message. And the other thing is that knowing Arab mentality, sitting in front of a 25-year-old terrorist who has his ego like this big and nothing to lose, the only thing he's going to say, oh, yeah, come on, let's see you. And that is the way this will end up. So, but he still needs to convey the message, the security officer needs to convey the message that this will end badly, and badly might mean death. No ifs and buts about that. And that is a very harsh message, but he can still do it with this method. It will be something like, look, we are on different side of this conflict. Okay. Maybe you're right. Maybe I am. I don't know. I don't care. But I have a job. And that job is to maintain security. And when you're out of jail and you go back to do whatever it is you do, my job is to stop that. Now, again, now it's the terrorist point of view. Look, I admire what you do. You serve your country and you serve your people with your heart and your soul, and you don't care what prices you need to pay. That is very true, by the way. It is. I don't see anything bad with saying that. If I were a Palestinian, I would be your brother. And after I've done all of this, I'll say, but there is nothing I won't do to stop you. This nothing is very indicative of what it means. Okay. So the other person went into that office 100% hostile. He might be coming out 99% hostile, which is a bit better. Okay. It's going to end up badly most times, but if there was a 1% chance that this will not end up badly, we just used it. So if we are talking about Ukrainian situation, again, I don't pretend to know what you guys are going through. I believe there may be some internal debate among people about what needs to be done and doesn't need to be done, and probably some political factions about this. So a lot of people might want to go out to the streets and, do whatever it takes. You can support that and you can oppose that, and you can do both things with the same method. We're in an impossible situation. We're facing an enemy much stronger than us, and at the same time, we have to try and keep on living. Up until now, most Ukrainians, I think, will agree. It is perfectly understandable, say what it is, to want to hide and make as little noise as possible at such a time. I think, however, that is not what we should do. If you are talking to a person who wants to be active, then he understands that you agree with him. If you're talking with a person who doesn't want to be active, you haven't insulted them and said, you're a coward, you're nothing. And it goes the other way around, exactly the same. It is, we are in an impossible situation, facing an enemy, and so on. It is, wait, I need to move this. It's perfectly understandable to want to get out there and get some revenge. I think, however, that in the long run, that is something we will regret. So again, if you are talking to a super militant person, they know you disagree with them, but they don't see, again, you don't convey the message of, you guys are crazy, I want nothing to do with you, okay? Actually, you can see it all the time, and as far with Jewish advocacy on Twitter, if you say one word out of place, you're called an anti-Semite, just like that, okay? So you need to be very, very careful going against the current, especially when we're talking about politics and security. So this is an example of how this method can be used to talk about very difficult, very harsh matters, even life and death and war and peace or whatever. It just means that you will not strike the other with the full fist. You will just poke them with your finger. And if they want to listen, you can go further. And if they don't, you haven't escalated the situation all that much. Right. So,
no, we have,
yeah.
Sorry for interruption, we have just 8 minutes to the end of our webinar, first webinar.
Okay, you guys.
We have 2 questions in chat, and yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's hear the questions. We can finish this next meeting.
Okay, please choose an English language because you can't hear interpreter.
Wait.
Yes, please.
Wait, stop share. Interpretation, English. Right.
1, 2, 3, this is interpreter. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Так, є таке питання. Яке місце займає
There's a question. What place is an individual taking in this philosophy, a human being? Because so far it looks actually very technical. And can you please explain a little bit more when you said when you have to mean it when you're saying something? So those 2 parts of the question.
Right. The thing is, whoever asked about this, what is the role of an individual, a person in this? There is no role. A person is like a tree is like a rock is like a house. They all respond to the same universal rules. And this is what makes the Chinese philosophy different, in the sense that it is not anthropocentric. It is not about me. It is not about me as a human. There's a lot to be said about this, but again, this is not a Chinese philosophy lecture. And again, I would be imposing if I think that I can explain it thoroughly. I might find out some materials that talk about this. If that means that what we talked about today is 100% technical, just a 1, 2, 3 manual, then so be it. That's perfectly okay. If we would like to go into the depth of the role of a person, of a human being, and conflict, and the relationship between the earth and the sky and the yin and the yang, that'll be a bit long. Maybe by the second meeting, you can make this a bit more specific about conflict management, and maybe I could have a more specific answer. Now, the other question was about meaning it. Okay, when we represent the other's point of view, we're playing a game to a certain extent, because we don't think what they think. If we would have thought what they think, we wouldn't have a dispute. As a mediator, by the way, this is not 100% true, but let's look at it as if we are one of the sides in the conflict. People can be stupid, but they're not 100% stupid. When you blatantly lie to them, most times they understand. And the thing is that we are not such good liars. We're not such good actors that we can lie without being detected. Some people can do that. Some of them are, in my field of expertise, are very good at that. But most times, and especially when you wade into a conflict you are not familiar with, against an adversary you're not familiar with, lying is not a good option. So if you say, "Oh, of course you are right," and you don't mean it, there is a very good chance of you being detected. So try to find something you can actually relate to. And if you can't relate to that thing the other is thinking, maybe you're not the best mediator for this. That's one thing. And the other is, as long as you don't find the reasoning of the other, this conflict will not end. So if you're saying, yeah, I can tell it with a straight face, but I could never understand how that person thinks that, then you have some internal work to do. Again, this is just what I am saying. There are probably a lot of other ways of addressing conflict that don't involve this, inner equilibrium and balance or whatever. This does. Again, if you're a very good liar and you're facing an adversary you think you can outsmart easily, then, you sell them whatever you want and hope for the best. But if you're caught maneuvering, and if the other gets a vibe that you are not dealing with them in good faith, this will be the end of this negotiation, and you may not have a second chance. So let's say if you're facing a Russian soldier, again, I'm going for the obvious. I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feeling or not being crass. If you're facing a Russian soldier and you want to tell them, of course, Mother Russia is the most important thing in the world, and you don't believe that, then don't go for that. Find something else you can relate to. Look, I understand you're a 23-year-old kid far from home and you have your orders. I would probably do the same if I were you. But I'm just saying that this has implications. There are human beings on the other side, and you need to understand that. Okay. Maybe it was better if I would tell him that Mother Russia is the best thing in the world, but I can't. So I need to find something that is his, that represents their point of view, and that I can say it with a straight face. The bigger, the more meaningful it is, the better. If all I can say is, look, you're tall, you look nice. Okay, let's go for that. But I don't think that will work. So
Дякую. Дякую. Ще є питання.
Thanks a lot. And there is one more question. From the standpoint of Dao, are there situations where you do not have to go for the negotiations, or when you have to leave as a mediator, when you have to extract yourself from the talks?
Ooh. That was a question from the deep. Probably maybe for someone who actually knows Chinese philosophy, maybe better than me. The whole point of Taoism is that the Tao is so big, so great, so endless that everything we do is pointless. We are nothing. In this case, it really resembles Buddhism. Our need for conflict and winning conflict and make things go our way and not the other way, what the hell? The Tao knows way better than us. The whole point of conflict resolution is stupid. Having said that, even the great, ancient philosophers didn't say just lie under the tree and do nothing. But yes, Tao advocates as little action as possible. Let's say you look at a situation, and yes, being a smart and capable person, you know that if you leave this alone, you were sent with a mission, okay? You are sent with a mission, let's say, to get a divorce. And you're coming back with the answer, I'm busy now. I can't think about this. I'm at war. So your, let's say, client or whoever sent you will probably say, no, but this is not good enough. And at that point, if you read the situation in this way, and you probably will, you need to say, look, this is the best we can do right now. And yes, it might take 6 months more for this person to come to grips with the fact that they're acting wrong. And if we push this further right now, this will end up badly. Yes, yes. Advocating inaction is important as advocating action. Definitely. And sometimes, yes, you need to say, no, this is a bad idea. Just lay off from each other for a month or 2 or 3, and things will resolve themselves. Anything more than that will be harmful. Excellent questions, if I may say, and I hope the answer is clear enough. So.
Дякую, Noam.
Thank you so much, Noam. Well, we run out of time. I'm sorry, and we need to be closing our meeting, but we still have more questions. So why don't we try to actually handle them in our next meeting? I'm going to put them down and we're going to voice them next time. I want to extend my words of sincere gratitude for today's presentation and can't wait for the next meeting.
Excellent.
And that's taking place on Friday. Everybody else, thank you very much, dear colleagues. Thanks very much for the interpretation. There are a lot of very good messages about high quality interpretation, for which I want to thank you very much. It's always embarrassing for me to interpret that. Sorry. So thank you very much and have a very good night. See you next time.
Bye-bye.